Hello, everyone.
Welcome
We're a
to
few
our
minutes
broadcast.
we're a few minutes late, but that happens occasionally. But we have some good information for you today because if there's anything about real estate you've been hearing, it's everybody telling you how the sky's falling. And every week we try to tell you that it's always real estate is very local. And it's been a while since we've given you real stats. And so we are here again to give you more statistics because
They
numbers
matter.
local numbers matter.
And we want to say again, we say this every time, but I think it's really important. We are not in the business of projecting what's going to happen. That is pretty much the same as reading tarot cards or looking at a crystal ball. So anyone who tells you that they have they know what's coming next, and we are hearing a lot of people tell us they know what's coming next. They might be right, but if they are, it's by chance, not because they're so smart. So the experts say that there's no reason for a crash to come, that this is not 2008, that the demand is strong, that we might see an evening out of pricing, or it might slow the rate that it's going up, but we're by no means going to see much coming down. However, the alarmist, clickbait, henny penny stuff all around you can actually influence what happens. So that's why we think it's so dangerous for people to make those claims, and it's very self-serving. So they're trying to, be the person who calls it. But it can actually make things happen. So again, none of us know what's going to happen because there's way too many factors for anyone to really know. But we're here to guide you through whatever it is.
Correct. So I'll pull up my numbers. So we're doing a little differently today. I decided to kind of go by counties because we do cover a wide variety of the Chicagoland area, and sometimes we get a little too specific. And if we're talking about things being kind of local, we want to let you know that when we are talking about Naperville or we're talking about Plano or Kendall County, that we're seeing kind of the same trends elsewhere. Numbers might be slightly off, but nowhere near if you were comparing, say, the outer burbs of Chicago to a whole nother state. So today we have the DuPage, Kendall, Will, and Kane County information. So I went real far back. I went to 10 years. So everybody wants to liken what's happening to 2007, 2008. And that was just kind of the beginning of the height. And about 10 years was kind of the height of when things were starting to maybe, get back into a more comfortable position. So we're talking 2012. Some of these, the days on month supply was almost a whole year. Again, month supply means if all of the houses, no other houses go on the market today, that in particular, so for in this instance, 12 months from now, every one of those houses will be sold. That is decidedly what they call a seller's market. Anything over about 4, around the 3 to 5.
Yeah, I always say
month range, 5-6 month range.
Like 4, 5, 6 is neutral, but we're only ever really in a neutral market, kind of going from one to another. We don't really stay. It's kind of like average. It doesn't exist. But 1 to 3 is most decidedly a seller's market. 4 is kind of still on the seller side. 5 would be that absolute neutral. 6 heading toward buyers. And 7 is decidedly a buyer's market. And so you're talking about 12 months supply.
Yes.
That is an extreme buyer's market.
And let's be honest here. I kind of almost hate the buyers sellers market, because if you need to sell your home, it's got to be your market.
Yeah.
If you need to buy a home or want to buy a home or need to make a change or want to stop renting, then it's your buyer's market.
Yeah. And months on or months of inventory is basically just a way to measure supply and demand, which is kind of an unmeasurable metric. So this is one of the ways that we can get a little bit of insight into what's behind that.
Correct. So as I said, January 2012, where people kind of say that was when we hit the height of the worst of the housing markets, we were averaging between 10 and a half to 12 months supply, which it means things were sitting. Now, once you get down to about 2014, we are at about the 5.5 to 4.5 range, which we kind of just discussed is kind of a neutral market. And you'll see that it does. It goes
obviously, by the way, I just want to point out that obviously that's because I started in real estate and I cleared out all that inventory.
So we have from about 2014 till about 2018 or so, where everything was at the 4, 5, 3.5 month time frame. And that again is kind of neutral. So you got houses coming up, you got houses going, and again, it's always, you know, the best houses would go fast. The house that had a little bit of problem might have sat because people had options. People, you know, sellers had some money to put into their homes now. People in, you know, part of the reason that things sat in 2012 was because a lot of people were strapped for cash. They didn't have a lot of money. They hadn't had some money. They weren't sure about their jobs, things like that, where there was a lot of distress houses. And a lot of people, you know, don't have the patience, the ability, the money to buy those distress houses. So sometimes they would sit until the right buyer came along. But now
the other thing was, as you say, buyers had choices. And so sometimes buyers had a harder time buying because there were so many choices. So we would often show buyers a lot of houses and they had a difficult time making a decision because there was so much available to them. It's kind of like when you go to one of those superstores and there's like a billion brands on the shelf.
Correct. So then we had like a small dip, but then back to that 4-ish, 3.5 to 4 month inventory in 2020, the beginning of 2020. And then, as you can see, Kendall, Will, Kane, and DuPage have all dropped over the last 2 years to hovering around 1 month. So that it's still hovering, okay? So a couple months ago, we were talking about it in March, and we were saying it was at 1 month. And in April, we were saying it was at 1 month. And May, and now we're still at the end of June, and it is saying we are at approximately 1 month. So things are definitely still showing the supply and demand is not necessarily equal, that there is still a decent amount of demand for the supply out there. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go, well, quickly to the list to contract, average market on days on market. So we were over 100, again, 10 years ago. We are at averaging between between 16 and 24 days on market. So we're still talking 3 weeks. That's a big difference from, you know, near 4 months. So, and then even if we go back to the last year or so, average days on market were a little over a month, and now we're down to, again, 3 weeks. So, and this is data up till the end of June. So 2 weeks ago, a week ago.
Yep.
And so even though people have been saying for 3 months now, everything's changed, just want to show you that to an extent, it hasn't. Not yet.
Well, and what month is it?
It's July and it's the middle of summer and people are on vacation, and
it's the second slowest month of the year in housing.
Yeah, after December.
Always.
Yeah.
So, you know, we definitely always expect to see this seasonal slowdown of everything because people are doing other things. Whether it's a blip or a trend, we won't know until we're months out from here. But this is very typical for this time of year. And as you point out, almost nothing. Like there's really not a big difference in what we're seeing.
Correct. And I just want to point out, even if we doubled these numbers, 16, 21, 19, we doubled them. This is where we are at the beginning of 2021. Nobody was saying at the beginning of 2021, wow, houses are just sitting, huh?
Yeah, right.
We have some wiggle room. There will be, there will be some houses that sit a little bit more. There will be, maybe we weren't usually at the 20 offers for every listing point. Anyway, there were some houses, but in this area, again, these towns, these counties around Chicago, we did have a robust demand, but we weren't hyperinflated.
No matter what's going on in the market, I think the one thing that we can say we can guarantee beyond a shadow of the doubt is that it will change. So it's always going to change. It's not a cause for alarm. However, if you were one of those people who thought, wow, I want to take advantage of the best sellers market that's ever existed on the planet, you might want to do that soon because it will change. So we're not, trying to scare the crap out of everybody. But if that's you, think about doing it sooner rather than later, because we don't know what's coming, but it's probably going to be different than what we've recently experienced.
And I just want to remind everybody, again, this isn't a guarantee, but if you're a buyer, rates, if they go down, for the most part, you're not forever,
Yeah. What do they say? Marry the house, date the rate, right?
Correct. Yes, exactly. So
buy the right house, be in the right space to live in, as we always say. And if, you are feeling bad about the fact that you didn't listen to us when we told you rates were the lowest they were ever probably going to be, listen to us now and say these rates are still very, very good. And if they happen to go lower, you can just take advantage of that when they do.
And trust me, your lender will call you.
Oh, yeah.
They will let you know if it's advantageous for you to refinance later on. But there's still great, there's still some, reasonably priced homes out there. You might fall, for a really nice house, you might get you might still be part of a bidding war. I know a lot of people don't like that idea of the bidding war. We can never really force you to buy a house for more than you're willing to pay. So if you put your best foot forward that you are willing to do and you lose, that was worth the effort.
And the reason you're going to possibly be in a bidding war is because you want what everybody else wants. If you figure out how to want what other people don't want, then you're usually in a pretty decent position.
Absolutely. So there's ways around it, and it's still, I don't know. it's what I was going to say jumped out of my head. I'm sorry.
Well, one thing that I think we want to reiterate, obviously we're not the only realtors who pay attention, but we encounter on a regular basis many who don't. And the important thing about working in a changing market is that you have someone who understands it, who's paying attention, who's doing the research, and who's willing to pivot. So our marketing is rock solid, but it is not set in stone. So how those two things coexist, I don't know. But we have very solid marketing plans that are adaptable to whatever is happening around us. So one of the things we do is the way we launch a listing, like Hollywood launches a movie, we make sure that anyone who might possibly be interested in a house like yours is going to see it. Excuse me. The more eyeballs we have on your upcoming listing, the better chance we have to sell it and to sell it for the most money possible.
Absolutely. Yes. So we will, we talk these numbers and more numbers and more numbers and more numbers with our clients when the time is right for them to buy or sell. And we make sure that we're always keeping communication when we do see that shift. Bless you.
Thank you.
So we are always on top of it. So if things do change, if today we list a house and things we see start changing for real, then we'll share that with our clients, and we will figure out if we need to pivot or change what we had, said, but we let them know.
So we've always got our finger on the pulse, and that's one of the reasons too. Danielle and I chose long ago that while we might specialize on one side or the other, we would never be agents who only worked with buyers or only worked with sellers. Again, personal preference. There are agents who do a very good job of that, but we felt like the fact that we walk into homes with buyers every week makes us better sellers agents. The fact that we work with sellers all the time makes us better buyers agents. The new agents on our team are going to learn to work with one and then the other, and they're going to be completely well-rounded, very educated and highly skilled agents like Danielle and I are. We think that's an important part of what we do, because we see, again, oftentimes our colleagues who are only on one side will miss something in the market, right, Danielle?
Absolutely.
We can tell what's happening and what's coming because we have clients on both sides of the transaction.
Yes. And we've had experiences with a bunch of types of purchases too, distressed properties and representing people buying short sales and foreclosures, as well as helping represent people who are selling short sales and all the different things that go with that too, and how to change their expectations and such. So yes, absolutely.
So, is that it? Are we done? Have we covered the world of the market?
For
so
today,
if you have any questions about
the area of this market.
Yes. If you have any questions about your specific block, neighborhood, home, or one you have your eye on, reach out, let us know. We're happy to help guide you through what might be going on specifically there.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye-bye.